I'm here with the Gypsy fucking Pistoleros. How the fuck are you guys?
We were half British, half Spanish band. We went on tour with Motorhead, Sepultura, UFO, Nazareth, Black Sabbath with Dio singing. We then found out that he was like a massive integral part of the Ramones, and we got chucked off that tour and the European dates and the American tour, and we lost the Sire Records deal, which is a shame. Don't call her Blondie, she wants to be known as Deborah now, and she's got brown hair. And I thought, oh, that brown-haired woman that just made me a coffee in the kitchen. So that was my meeting with Blondie. I started out at the age of about 14 in a punk band. Our first sort of claim to fame was, I think I was about 15, so it would be about 77. We went to see The Damned. I used to think it was the Odeon, but I think it was Bingley Hall where we went, and we were just hanging around because we couldn't afford to get in. And Rat Scabies invited us in, and he let our drummer play with his drum kit, and he said, like, oh, do you want to play tonight? And we had about 3 songs. So we played our 3 songs to the early doors crowd and all the roadies, which was pretty amazing. See, that's how I thought it was, music business. Everybody helps you and everybody's nice. But they don't, which you'll find out later. Then I formed a band. We were a punk band called Regular Wretches, became Cry the Innocent. We were like a post-punky band at that point. And we went out with Spear of Destiny, The Alarm, Big Country, Bauhaus, supporting. And we were big around the Midland area. And we had a band called Wild and Wandering. It used to be called Love from Eden, supporting us. That band became The Wonder Stuff and Pop Will Eat Itself. And we went to London like knobs because that was a place to go. And we played like the Cry the Innocent, we played the Marquee, we headlined it on a Sunday night. We took 2 coaches because we were signed to a publishers called Sparta, Florida. And we thought we were going to fucking be big, mega band. We had like Charisma Records we were going to sign to. And we played the Marquee and it was great. I mean, Lemmy, that's where I first met Lemmy. Lemmy was always there at the bar in the little glass bit. This is the original Marquee. And Stretton Smith, who used to used to run Charisma Records, they used to own part of the Marquee as well, called us just another band from up north. Wanker. He was very gay though. There was like quite a gay mafia around that time. And that's, like I said, that's the first time I met Lemmy. And we used to be, because we were Sparta, Florida Publishing, used to be publishers for Bowie, Musical Youth, Splodgenessa Bounds, Jimmy Cliff, and some other really weird mixture. It would have been the most fucked up Christmas party ever. But anyway, the guy that used to run it, that signed us, Mike, what was his second name? Anyway, unimportant. But he used to introduce us, like, wherever he goes, as his boys. And we were just naive brummies, and we didn't know that he was, like, completely gay, and, like, was introducing us also as almost as his rent boys. And that's the first time we met Lemmy, who was, like, laughing his tits off at us. And that's how we got into the sort of London scene. Then we moved to London, became the Ice Babies. We supported Lords of the New Church all around that time. Went out with the Skids again, various other bands. Then we became White Trash, which is when we became Glam Punks. And we went out with Kill City Dragons, amongst others. We didn't do the Dogs no more or any of that, but it was that scene, it was the Choir Boys scene all around there. But we played the Hippodrome, headlined that when it was the Glam Central. This is about 1987 to 1989 type thing. I was going out with a girl called Lacey Bond, who was in Toto Coelho, who had a number 8 hit with I Eat Cannibals. Number 8 hit. The Transvision Vamp story will come later. That's in another disclosures. That's a bit explicit. those stories. Anyway, going on from that, about 1989, grunge hit, and so everything in the Soho punky scene died out. Oh, we were managed by, which is quite funny, a guy called Barry Bethel, who used to be David Bowie's manager from Main Man. We thought that was really cool until we found out that Bowie had sued Main Man for about 8 million quid because they were shit. Because we played the Fulham Greyhound and we headlined the Fulham Greyhound. This guy called Barry Bethel came on in a bright blue spangly suit to introduce us, which was a bit weird. That was really weird. Yeah. Anyway, I met a Spanish girl and I moved to Spain in about 1989. And that's when I formed a band called The Last Gang. And we supported, amongst others, we went on tour with Motorhead, Sepultura, UFO, Nazareth, Black Sabbath with Dio singing, Dio on his own, Alvin Lee, for some weird reason, Magnum, that was funny. And that's, I suppose, where I first sort of saw the big bands. I mean, UFO, I wasn't never really into like rock, classic-y rock. I was more into the punky stuff, punky, glammy rock, Hanoi Rocks, New York Dolls, that type of thing. And Shiwaddy Waddy, see? It's varied. So we went through all that. I suppose how I learned what a freaking good band was as opposed to loads of the would-be sort of posers and that. Hey-ho. But anyway, I came back from there in, I think we did 1993. We did the Ramones tour. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we'd signed to the Ramones management, a management company called Red Eye Management. We were signed to the European part of it, and they had the American part. And we were signing to Sire Records, which Blondie, I think they had Blondie, Talking Heads, the Ramones on us. But we got the Ramones tour. I think we did 8 dates with them, and we were due to go to do the rest of Europe and America with them. And we were going down great. Well, what saved us was we played Anarchy in the UK. And I think it's one of the first times that a British band, we were half British, half Spanish band, had ever done Anarchy in the UK, and it went down amazingly. Anyway, the tour manager for the Ramones was the right dick. He was the guy that used to come on in the monkey-headed, monkey head and had the Gabba Gabba Hey sign. Dick. Anyway, we didn't like him. He was called Monty something. We didn't know. We just thought he was their tour manager. We didn't know he was quite as involved in the band as he was. Anyway, the Ramones were doing about 33 songs per show, which was ridiculous. Amazing, because I remembered every bloody song. It's not until you like support a band and you watch them that you realise, like, bloody hell, I know all of these songs. Anyway, he came up to us on about the 7th gig and said, hey guys, can you lose Anarchy in the UK? And we were like, and all the rest of the band are like, what the fuck? That's the one song that everybody's going mad to. And what threat are we to the Ramones? Anyway, so I said, yeah, sure, no problem, dude. And next night, for the encore, we just like hit up with them, Pretty Vacant, and the crowd went mad again. And we were like throwing V's at this fucking guy, Monty, fucking whatever his name was. We then found out that he was like a massive integral part of the Ramones, and we got chucked off that tour, and the European dates and the American tour, and we lost the Sire Records deal, which is a shame, because we'd recorded the album for Sire in Boundary Row Studios in London, and we used a guy called John Wall, who was the engineer on Nevermind the Bollocks, and it was like a really good album, which has never surfaced. I haven't even got a copy of it anymore. But one interesting thing was when we were recording in Boundary Row, I was having a coffee in the side and with this woman, and she had like she said, "Oh, do you want a coffee?" And I went, "Oh, that'd be cool." And she made me a coffee, and we just chatted about like bullshit, nothing really. And I went back into our recording studio, and the rest of them said, "Hey, dude, you know, like Blondie's recording here as well." And I went, "Really?" And they went, yeah. They said, but don't call her Blondie. She wants to be known as Deborah now, and she's got brown hair. And I thought, oh, that brown-haired woman that just made me a coffee in the kitchen. So that was my meeting with Blondie. Didn't even fucking know it was Blondie. So that was fun. Anyway, after all of that, doing these various tours, I came back and decided to put together something a bit different. We became White Trash for a time, White Trash UK, and we had a deal with, well, we were due to have a deal with Noise Records, and we recorded the album for that. And this is actually true. The drummer put a deposit down for a flat because it was a really big deal. It was like 120,000 quid, I think, because Noise International were a big record label at the time. We'd done the album was done. We were due to record. We were signing it. We'd faxed off our contract. We were waiting for the contract to come back. And so we were by the fax machine, and we get a phone call from our producer, John McGowan, who said, oh, dude, Claudia Walterbach used to run the company. Anyway, we didn't know that her husband found out, who was the money man, had found out she'd been shagging one of the engineers and had served her with divorce papers and took over the company. And so we were sort of left, and the drummer was left with like this deposit on his flat, which buggered up. So that sort of finished us completely. That was in about 2005, 2004, around that time. That's when I decided to put together Gypsy Pistoleros. Because the weird thing was, when we were supporting the Ramones in Spain, we needed a few more songs. We wrote Close You'll Ever Be, Wild Beautiful Down, which are very Ramonesy, but I wanted to, I love some of the flamenco-y weird stuff that we've been hearing. And in Spain, all the bands sort of rehearse in the desert, in these little outbuildings, and they all get pissed, and they all stay there for days on end rehearsing. I mean, they were tight as fuck, most of the Spanish bands, in Zaragoza, where I lived. Funny story. There was a band called Heroes del Silencio, and they loved us because we'd come from London and we were all glam punky, and they thought we were like real rock and roll because it was really happening in the UK. And they said to us, do you want to come to one of our gigs? And I went like, oh yeah, all right. I didn't know anything about them. And they said, yeah. I said, where is it? They said, oh, the football stadium. And I thought, oh, that's nice. I thought, a little room off the football stadium. Anyway, we walked in, and it was the stadium. There was about fucking 40,000 people there. They were massive in Spain. Heroes del Silencio. I quite like their stuff still. But anyway, I digress, as you'll notice. Their guitarist, Juan, I can't remember his second name. Anyway, he used to jam with us because he used to love like the rock and roll-y and thought we were real rock and rollers. And they used to get pissed, and they used to come in and play these flamenco songs, and we used to join in and punk them up, and they sounded great. And they used to always want to do, they actually did a flamenco punk version of Anarchy in the UK, which was really weird, which I've never revisited, but there's still time. So we sort of, that's where I first sort of discovered it. Anyway, we took 3 of these real traditional flamenco rumba songs and punked them up, and we played them on the Ramones tour. And I mean, the Spanish people said to me, like, dude, you're going to die. They're going to kill you. They're going to hate it. And amazingly, there was silence when we played these rumba flamenco tracks, until like loads of gypsies came to see the Ramones tour as well, and they loved it, and they started double clapping to all of them, and we punked them up, and it went down really well. So they worked beautifully, but that's where I first got the idea in 1993 for flamenco-y type, rock stuff. And when we came back to the UK, I sort of started that in about 2005. The original lineup was Neil from the Yo-Yos on guitar, There was Scott on drums, and our bass player from White Trash, Jock, me. And we went out and we did like just a few local gigs, and then they were in different bands, so I wanted to get a permanent band together. So I put together Gypsy Pistoleros, and we went in, we recorded with Joe Gibb, who did all the Catatonia stuff. He'd done some really weird shit. I think he'd been Bowie's engineer as well. He'd done some the Kinks he recorded as well. So you can you can fact check all of this, by the way. See, it's true. If I remember it right, because those were the fucking hazy days when I was like a speed freak and an alcoholic. Oh, that was cool. We used to have a guy, the drug baron, who used to like meet all of these big bands that used to tour Spain. Was called Chechu, and he was a nutter. He was like from the Basque country, and he used to have like a big fucking scar down his cheek and everything. But he's really cool. Anyway, the one day he bought all the drugs for like the Motorhead tour, and he put them all in this briefcase. And he opened the briefcase, and he was dipping into all of these bags and whatever. And our drummer opened the skylight, and all of this fucking cocaine and speed went fucking all over the place. And we just looked round and everyone's covered in it. And he just like sighed and picked up another suitcase that was underneath, in our tour bus, by the way, all of this is, and picked that out and just carried on after shutting the skylight. We spent the rest of that tour going round sniffing the tour bus, which is quite fun, which is what you do, obviously. Those are the days when I used to drink Thunderbird, which was nice. But I'll tell you about the Ramones. There's a story with Joey Ramone. Joey was in a really bad way in 93. I think it was it 96 that he died? Or anyway, but his illness was really bad. He was on a lot of morphine. I don't know what else he was on. But he used to have a catcher that would show him up the ramp to the microphone stand, and he'd just stand there like deactivated. And as soon as the curtain dropped, they'd just launch into 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'd go straight into action, and he was alive until they stopped, and then the lights came down, and he'd just deactivate again, and he'd just be ushered off. But I saw him. He came up. He was never really let out on his own without like his minder. But he came up upstairs the once. We were playing Celeste in Barcelona, and there was a pinball machine, and he just came up to the pinball machine and he went, "Hey man, you got a dime?" And I went, "No." I said, "Dude, it takes pesetas. We're in Spain." And he went, "You got a dime?" And I went, "That's all right." So I put a peseta in, and he nodded towards the little puller for the ball, and so I pulled it back, boom, but the ball went up the top, it went straight down the middle, and he did the flippers. And then he motioned again and looked at the ball. I went, all right. So I pulled it again, went straight up the middle, straight down again, and he flipped it. And I went, oh, I said, like a friend of mine, like, 'cause we used to hang out with Lords of New Church, Steve and Dave Tragana, and whatever, Danny Fury. I said, oh, you know Steve, because he did a lot of stuff, and I think he did recordings with Steve, but he wasn't there. There was nothing there at that point, which is a shame. But unlike some people that can talk, which were fucking way worse. Anyway, in 84, 85, we were sort of living in London. This is Cry of the Innocent. And we were sort of big in Birmingham and like the Midlands, around that area. And a guy came to see us at, it wasn't Edwards number 8, it was like the Australian bar, if anybody really remembers it, right on the corner before where the old Edwards number 8 was up the road. But we'd packed it. It was about 200 or 300 people in this big pub. We played, God knows who was supporting us. We played with some really weird bands around that time. Test Department we played with once. Used to play all the steel radiators and shit. The Au Pairs we played with as well. That was a really weird affair as well. Anyway, this guy from Beggar's Banquet had turned up to see us, and we knew he was coming to see us. Head of it, I won't name names. I think it was Martin Mills. Anyway, he came up to me after the gig, and he said, "Oh, yeah, good show." And I went, "Oh, cheers, mate." And he went, "I want to sign you." And so I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "Yeah, 15 grand, 1 album, 2 singles. You'll see Top of the Pops, take it or leave it." And we had nothing else. So we were like, I was like, yeah. But just at that point, he took my pint from on the bar and took a sip out of it. So I leaned into his ear, and I went, "Tell you what, mate, go fuck yourself." And we lost that deal. That's when the band sort of split up completely. And do you know which band took that deal? Southern Death Cult, who went on to become The Cult. Bit of trivia. Also, right, Lemmy, let's go back to 95, 96 when we toured with them. We did the Spanish tour, we did Italian dates. But on the Spanish tour, we got to know them really well. Our Renault Master van was completely fucked, and we came over the Pyrenees with no brakes, and so they were all like applauding us when we got to the venue, and we were like really naive. We were like, oh, should we load the gear out here? They went, "No, just drive the van in," because like they were big venues, so you could drive straight into the arenas and unload right next to the stage, which was really cool. That was cool. Like looking at the Motorhead freaking banner before you play with them. Also, it's funny, when we were supporting the Ramones, halfway through one gig in Valencia, the crowd suddenly started going fucking mental when we were playing. And I thought, geez, man, this song's going down really well. I didn't know they'd like love this song this much. And they didn't. The curtain had fallen down on the back of the backdrop, a black curtain, and revealed this big wall with the Ramones freaking logo in the middle. So they were cheering the fact that the Ramones logo and the freaking backdrop had been shown. So that was joyous. Anyway, Lemmy. So I'd known Lemmy, since 1984, first time we met them. And he saw us as the Ice Babies and Cry the Innocent in the marquee, because he always used to stand at the edge of the bar in the little glass enclosure, which was in the old marquee, which people that know the marquee will know about. That's where he used to stand. And we'd met him, and he was just like, he was a lovely bloke. He was just like really fucking, not miserable, but he just was really, wouldn't talk shit. He wouldn't indulge in bollock conversations. He was just quite gruff. And all I remember from the early years was wherever we saw him, down the San Moritz, we used to go quite a bit. And he used to have a blonde, some like gorgeous looking blonde, sat there looking bored as shit as he was playing the fruit machine constantly all night. Because we had the same PR guy, a guy called Dave Beverly Jones. He used to do Motorhead, and he used to do us and a few other bands. And so that's how we got to know him, and that's how it first came up with the Fuzzy Navel, which was this fucking drink that he used to drink. Anyway, but we'll get further on to that. So we hop to 1995 was the first tour we did. We did 95, 96 with Motorhead. But 95 we were on tour in Spain, and we had no money. We were touring on bugger all. I think we were on 200 quid a gig. Didn't have any merch. Sleeping in the van. Freaking nutters. I remember we used to boil the kettle on the pavement outside the venues and whatever. So it was quite grim. But they invited us. The chef from Eat to the Beat really liked us when we were supporting Motorhead, and he used to watch us from side stage, and he invited us to the Sunday lunch, because they used to have a Sunday lunch, a proper carvery and like everything. And Lemmy used to have a menu per day on tour, and there'd be 3 or 4 different options, and so the chef had to have them ready made for them. See, It's not all rock and roll. And they used to open up this the side of this massive van, and they were like all alcohol bottles. It was just like a bar had opened out. So that was really cool. So we had Sunday lunch with them, and that was really nice. But one day after the gig, for some apparent reason, Lemmy invited me back to the tour bus. And I was there, and he comes off stage. This was his ritual. Every gig that I ever saw that we played with Motorhead, this is what he did. He'd come off stage, he'd have a shower, come in, he'd pour like this freaking concoction. It was like the fuzzy navel that we used to drink with him in San Moritz. It was like a concoction of snakebite, blackcurrant. He used to have wild turkey, JD, Southern Comfort, vodka, and something else which I can't for the life of me ever remember. But this in a pint, and he poured us 2 of those, and he gave me that. So I was like down in this, and we were yabbering on, and he'd go out then and do his signing. So he'd sign all of his like anybody that was waiting for the band. He'd go out and make sure that he signed all their stuff, all their albums, all the autographs, etc., etc. And then he normally shag one of the groupies, which was nearly always blonde, I noticed. Yeah, anyway. But then I ended up with him on this tour bus anyway, after that. And he's polishing his bass. No euphemism. But he used to always polish his bass and listen back to the concert, because he'd have them all recorded. And I actually said this to him. He said, this is my pension. And I said, you got about fucking 2,000 recordings, Lem. What are you going to do with them? And he went, pension, this is. And he used to check them. And if they'd fucked up Mickey D or Phil Campbell, he'd fine them the next day for all the fuck-ups. Anyway, I was getting wasted. He chopped up a few lines of speed, because he'd only do speed, same as us. That used to really piss off the Spanish promoters, because they'd always get cocaine in for the American bands and whatever. But there was only us apparently in Motorhead and that insisted on, like, they'd go like, you want coke, you want, but we'd go, no, you got any speed? And they couldn't understand that. They'd look at each other like, fucking English, they want the speed. So they get the speed. Anyway, chop the speed up. We had speed. So I was speeding me tits off. I was also drunk as fuck after a couple of these freaking concoctions. And I was just looking around, just before you pass out, I was looking around at the tour bus, and they had all these little cereal packet characters that they'd been collecting. And I sort of thought back to like Lemmy, his little ritual, the ritual every night, all was the same, shower, in, shag groupie, come back, polish bass, listen to playback, and I just remember looking at him, and I went like, hey, Lems. He went, yeah. I went, is this all there is? Is this it? And he stopped polishing his bass, and he just looked at me, and he went, what else do you fucking want? Which is fair enough. Oh, I'll also tell you the Bowie story. This is funny. I met loads of people, loads of like supposed rock stars. There's the Axl Rose story coming up as well. But David Bowie was the only like sort of star that I was sort of in awe of in his presence. And I met him at, where was it? It was the big, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called. Oh, bloody hell. It was a massive place. They'd done it up in London. Shit, it'll come back to me. I'll post it in like in subtext underneath if I remember it. Oh God, what was it fucking called? Sanctuary or something? I think it was called the Sanctuary. No, the Limelight. That's it, the Limelight. And it was this big place down Charing Cross, the end. A massive place, and you used to see all of like the rock stars and everybody in it. I once saw Ian Asprey in a big beaver hat. Fucking hell, and it was a really hot day. I just shouted across the road, dude, ain't you fucking hot in that furry hat? And he had a sulk and left. But anyway, I was at this place. It was the end of the night, and I was really pissed. And I was yampering about. It was in the days when you could smoke in venues. So I was smoking. And anyway, coming through the crowd, I just noticed, I felt like, fucking, that looks like David Bowie. And it was Bowie. And he came up to me. And I was like, a bit like, fuck. And he was such a, I don't know, another otherworldly character. It was like, really, there was like a real presence about him. And I was just gobsmacked. And he said, have you got a light? He didn't say it like that, but he said, have you got a light? And so I got like me Zippo, because, you know, they were cool in those days. I flicked it, and I was like trying to light his freaking cigarette. And he just held my hand, and I lit it. And he went, thanks, and walked on his way. And I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, you stupid fanboy. That was freaking Bowie. You didn't say anything. You said nothing of note at all. And so just as I could just see him disappearing out of the room, and he was just going out the door. So I thought, I've got to do something. So I shouted at the top of my voice, hey, Ziggy Stardust, I fucking love you. And David Bowie just did that on the way out, which I always thought was cool as fuck. Other one comes to mind. What other stories was there that come to mind? There were loads. Anyway, we'll go back to Gypsy Pistoleros. So Gypsy Pistoleros got together 2005. I think 2006, 2007 were the first tour. The first tour we did was with Steve Adler, with Adler's Appetite, in Spain again, through the same promoter that I'd done all my stuff with before, a guy called Robert Mills, which I'm still in touch with. So he better put us bloody on tour again now. But we went out with Steve Adler, Adler's Appetite. I think we did 8 dates with him around Spain, one in Italy, which was cool. I mean, it was Guns N' Roses. I'll tell you the Guns N' Roses, the Axl story in the next one. That's funny. That's the Appetite for Destruction story. Anyway, Adler's gone. He's now with, I think Michael Thomas was playing guitar. Chips Enough was playing bass. What was his name? A lovely guy was playing. He used to be in Izzy Stradlin's band and the Juju Hands. JT Tigara, I think his name was. He was playing guitar as well. And they had this singer called Tasha. Don't know what happened to him. Anyway, they sounded great. But that's when, like, geez, the crowd went freaking nuts every night. It was great for the first couple, but after a bit, you're like, oh, Jesus. All you'd hear was like, down, and the crowd would be like, fucking going mental. It was like, oh, and they went fucking berserk to Welcome to the Jungle. But they'd never had Guns N' Roses really tour, I don't think, Spain by that point. So that was another massive tour. Then, long story, we went out on tour, European tour with Love Hate, Bang Tango, and Christy Majors from Pretty Boy Floyd. He was going out as Pretty Boy Floyd at that time. And Enough's Enough. Oh, and then it was Bang Tango. And Bullet Boys as well. So we did a European tour. Then we went out with Faster Pussycat, Bullet Boys again, Bang Tango, Europe and UK tours. Then we went out with LA Guns, Trace's LA Guns. Paul Black was singing for them on the first tour we did. We did like the whole of Europe. That was quite funny. There are some funny stories from that. There's one really fucking bad one. I'll tell you that this is just this will sort of give you some idea of the state that I used to get into. This was a gig that I forgot I'd fucking even played. We were in Budapest, the Wigwam, because somebody came up to me a while ago and went, oh, I saw you in Budapest. And I thought, I've never been to Budapest. I went, yeah, you were. And so I looked it up, and it was, we'd supported LA Guns. So this is where this story happened. There were loads of fucking weird shit that goes on. but this one was nuts. Anyway, there was a South African groupie, really pretty, with so-and-so, somebody from LA Guns. She was with them. Anyway, I got wasted as per normal. And I ended up, truth, on a central reservation, getting a blowjob off her and her mate. And I remember there was just like lights, big lights came on, and I sort of like sat up. It was the army. They were like a territorial army type thing in Budapest, and pointing submachine guns at me and these girls. And I don't speak much Hungarian, so I was just like, dudes, how you doing? And anyway, the younger one of these two like military police or army, whatever they were, said, you supported LA Guns tonight, the Wigwam. And I was like, yeah, we did. And they were like, oh, they had a chat. We had a cigarette. Anyway, they gave me an army escort back to the hotel with these two groupies. So I banded in with these two people with submachine guns, and LA Guns were still like partying a bit and into like the room. That's the story of the Lazy Susan, which I don't think we'll go into at this precise moment in time. Hopping back to 1989, before I moved to Spain, I went over to the States with Jane Dickinson, Bruce Dickinson's ex-missus. They just divorced, and she got a lot of money. She was going to buy a place, not Beverly Hills. It was going to be Mulholland or somewhere, whatever. Anyway, I don't know. We stayed with them, but we went over there. We stayed with a guy called Tony Roman, who was a porn producer. Weird, as you do. Bel Air. We stayed in was it Bel Air? Yeah. No, Le Rev Hotel. In this apartment there. And the first night I was in like LA, some woman hijacked a bus and was driving people around by gunpoint. That was, bless LA. During that point, I met like, oh God, what was his name? Jimmy Bain, who was a bass player in Rainbow. And I think he was in a band called World War III then. And he was funny. He was a nutter. And I remember I used to be walking like the streets, because no one walked around LA. They always took taxis and cabs. They thought it was really weird and dangerous to even walk. But I was walking around with Jimmy, and they used to be fucking really pushy tramps. And they'd be like, hey man, you go down, and I'm like, dude, fuck off, to this one. And Jimmy went like, hey Lee, don't fuck the tramps off. They've got guns, which is a good lesson. Don't fuck the tramps off. Anyway, during this bit, we went to the Rainbow. And the Rainbow Bar and Grill at that point used to have tables for all the major bands. And it was like Iron Maiden used to sort of, if Iron Maiden were in town, they'd have their table. It used to also be the Def Leppard table, you know, like that sort of shit. There was Mötley Crüe, there was like Guns N' Roses, and there was whatever. And anyway, Slash from Guns N' Roses walks in, and we're on the Iron Maiden table, and everybody's looking, going, who the fucking hell is that? They don't know who I am. I didn't know who I am at that point. And Jane obviously knows Slash from Iron Maiden days and whatever. And she comes up and she goes, oh, Slash. Hey, this is Lee. He's from your part of the world, because he's from Stokely or something originally. And so she introduces us, and he just looks the other way and goes to shake my hand. And I just ignored his hand, and I just went, dude, you don't want to shake my hand, don't worry. And he turned around and he went, who the fuck are you? And I went, who the fuck are you? Cher. And a fight ensues. I grab him by his hair, very ungentlemanly and quite unsporting, but it was fucking a good move. When we roll over a table, this is just before Use Your Illusion's coming out. So they've got fucking all the security like around anyone with Guns N' Roses with like fucking guns and whatever. And we're rolling around on the floor, and suddenly I hear from the back of the room, oi, behave. And we both stopped and get up, and it's Lemmy. And he just made us shake hands and behave. So that's that one. That was funny. And I'm getting going, he's a cunt, he's right, cunt he is. Lemmy went, he's all right. Anyway, but later, well, a couple of days later, we go up to this place in Beverly Hills. We were actually staying in Beverly Hills with Chris Squire from Yes, because he's a good friend of Jane. And I didn't know that Chris Squire was gay. He was a lovely bloke. And when he get pissed, he used to get pissed on port. And he used to chase me around his like freaking luxury house in a dress. That's, yeah, a happy day. That's when I rang my mum at about 4 a.m. going, Mum, they got phones in the toilets here. I remember waking up in a jacuzzi with a cowboy hat on, cowboy boots, nothing else on, just in this jacuzzi. And I looked out the window and there was like the slope. Like, and that was it. We were in Beverly Hills. And I used to like to walk everywhere. And they used to keep, the security freaking companies used to keep coming out and like freaking pointing guns at me, going like, hey, what you doing? I'm going, I'm staying there, you fuckers. Because no one walks there. Anyway, there was this party, and it was the release party, well, a listening party for Use Your Illusion, Guns N' Roses. And so I walk in there with Jane Dickinson, and I'm only in there about a quarter of an hour, and I'm not really pissed, which is very unusual. And some guy comes up to me and then another guy comes up and they went, hey, man. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm getting chucked out. I haven't done anything yet, dude. And they went, no, it's all right. I said, Axel wants to see you. And I'm like, anyway, I walk up to this room at the top of like this big fucking place. Oh, the funny thing is, like, if you ever go around, because Jane Dickinson was looking for places to buy in Beverly Hills, wherever you go, they'll always point at if you're up in 2 or 3 stories, they'll always point at the swimming pool and go, oh, so-and-so died there, which is all pissed fuckers jumping off, like, you know, the balcony into the swimming pool and missing. Anyway, so I'm up there and I get shown into this little room. Well, it's a big room with Axel. And there's all TV screens which have got like cameras. So they're watching the reaction of people as they're doing the playback to Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. And so I'm there and I'm like, all right. And I meet Axel and he was nice. And I'm like, all right. And he said, hey, man, will you listen to the album and tell me what you think? And I'm like, yeah, all right. I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell. All of it, 1 and fucking 2. Anyway, and he said, no, so he had a waiter and they had all freaking half naked women wandering around with freaking drugs and shit on silver trays and all that sort of thing. It was the bad old times, the bad old days. So I ordered cognac, as you would, and had some snort. Anyway, and I listened to the album. And he's there, it's quite intense because there's Axel there just looking at me and I'm like listening to this fucking album, 1 and fucking 2 for God knows how long it is. And anyway, I finished listening to them and he said, what you think? And I said, I think you've got one good album. And at this point he goes fucking berserk. And he's like, fuck, I knew it, fuck, I knew it. And that was my reaction to Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. He just wanted like somebody that he didn't know from the audience that would, from the crowd that had gathered for this thing, apparently to give him like a straight assessment, reaction to the album. So that was funny. Anyway, back. LA Guns tour. 2007 was another tour that we did with LA Guns. And we're in the underworld in London, and this film crew are doing some documentary, and they say to Tracy, hey Tracy, you looking forward to Rocklahoma? It's going to be a massive festival in, like, you know, in Oklahoma. It's going to be the biggest event going on, blah 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 blah. And Tracy's like, yeah man, we're looking forward to it. We're there with fucking, who are they there with? Enough's Enough, fucking, I think White Snake, Tiger Tails, can't remember who the rest of the first year was. Anyway, and this reviewer turns around to me. He goes, "Are you going to be there?" And I went like, "No." And Tracy went, "Hey man, you should come out." And I went, "All right." I said, "You can put us on your set. Can we do a couple of numbers then in your set?" And Tracy's like, "Yeah, man, yeah. If you can get out there, yeah, sure." And I went, shake on it. And Tracy was like really reluctant, but I made him shake my hand. And I went, "There you go, on film, we're coming over." And so I blagged us onto Rocklahoma. And we got in touch with the organisers and said, "Oh, Tracy Guns has promised us, like, we can do 2 or 3 songs during their slot." And they weren't really interested in this at all. But for some bizarre reason, I think Tracy had a word, because I think Chips was very much Chuck, Burnell, Artists Worldwide lineup that first year. So they had all of their bands on. And we blagged our way on, and we went on, and we opened on the main stage, which was freaking massive. Rocklahoma was big. It's like a car park, all concrete. And we opened, we went on after Kiss Army, Kiss Tribute. Tiger Tails was supposed to play that one as well. They didn't turn up for some reason. Anyway, we went on, and we went down great. And we were invited back, and we subsequently went back for the next 4 years. So we did 5 years running from 2007 to 2011. And there's some great stories from Rocklahoma. The one year was 110 degrees on stage, and all the Americans were refusing to go on because it was like burning all this concrete, and we didn't give a shit. We just wandered on. We were nearly passing out, but we played, and like all the American bands are complaining and whatever. But the thing was, when it first started, Rocklahoma was massive. It was about 10,000 people, I think, per day. And I didn't know, but there was this like rule, this taboo in America that the audience and the band don't mix. I think it was from the 80s, that sort of vibe, the Untouchable sort of shit. And I didn't care. So when we finished our set, I walked straight off into the audience, into the crowd at the front. And the security went berserk. They went mad. And I'm like, fuck off, dude. I'm just walking over here. And then we walked out, and the crowd loved it. They went mad. And I didn't know you don't do that in America because of all like, hey, man, you can be shot, and like they can fucking touch you and things, and man, and you'll disintegrate. But we did it every year. And every year we'd walk off the front of the stage into the crowd. And we'd go around the campsite and meet everybody, which... they all loved all of the people that were there, but it was weird. We got so fucking wasted because we used to go around they used to invite us into their freaking Winnebagos and all their massive like bloody wagons and give us like these weird fucked up drinks, and I was a mess. I remember the one year we played, I think it was 2009, and we decided we didn't want to go early on the main stage. So we would always end up headlining the second stage, which was just as big, at midnight after the main band had finished. And the one year Triumph were playing, and they were fucking awful. And so the whole of the crowd, after 3 songs of Triumph, just moved over to us. And I'd been out. I hadn't slept, I don't think, in about freaking hell 2 days. 2 days and a night. I'd just been up partying, and like my voice was fucked. And I just remember this massive crowd, and we went on, and I looked round. There was Tracy Guns, there was Steve Adler, there was the 2 guys from ZZ Top, there was Davey Vane, who I used to love, who else? Dee Snider, and there was like a few other like spatterings of people like on the side stages watching. And I couldn't sing a note. My voice was so fucked. And I barked my way through. You can check this out. It's on YouTube somewhere. And I'm just barking my way through like freaking the whole set. And it's just so sad. So that was another great freaking opportunity that I blew. hey-ho. But David Vane was really nice. I came down into the hotel at the Hard Rock Cafe we were staying at, but I hardly ever made it back there. I'd stay on the campsites, pissed out my head. It's funny, once it was that really hot year, I sort of didn't know where to stay. The one year I ended up waking up in a freaking tent with just me and a pair of silver knickers next to me. And I put my head out and everyone would be like, hey man, Gypsy Pistoleros. I'm going like, dude, do you remember me coming in here into this tent? And they're like, yeah man, you're with that girl with those fucking thingamy. And I had no idea about it whatsoever. But the one year I'd gone into the changing rooms and like, you know, where the bands were, the band dressing rooms. And it was so fucking hot. I had PVCs on and me red snakeskin boots. And I was so hot. And halfway through the night, I'd pulled down my PVC trousers and my knickers. And so I just had my PVC trousers and my cowboy boots around me, lying down. And I just wake up to these two cleaners, these two Mexican women just sweeping around me. Just smiles at me and I'm like, hello, good morning. That was weird. But anyway, we did Rocklahoma for 5 years. And after that, it's 2011, we signed to Heavy Metal Records. And they were going to do this and they were going to do that. They were going to release so-and-so box sets and all this shit. None of that came to fruition. And we had a launch party in London at the St. Moritz. And I remember the band, somebody rang me up from the band and sort of going like, oh, man, what time we got to get down there? Oh, really? And I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. And I just thought, I ain't doing this anymore. So I packed it up, 2011. That was it. Just walked away from it. And I thought, what should I do now? I know, I'll become an actor, as you do. So I went, so I did a few B movies. I was in North Bank Entertainment. Oh God, Robert the Doll, the Revenge of. I was in Werewolves of the Third Reich. I was in freaking hell. What else was I in? Manson Family Massacre. The best one though, if you want to look this one up, it's on YouTube, is Jurassic Predator, which is fucking hilarious. And Pandemonium, which is also another one where I play a drug-crazed lawyer who gets his dick cut off by a giant serial-killing panda, as you do. So I did like various films. I also did a master's degree in tour and theatre at the University of Worcester because I thought, oh, I might as well learn to act if I'm in these films. And I also nearly got in Peaky Blinders for Arthur. I was down to the last 4. That's another story, but that's the acting-y bit. Anyway, how did I get back in? How did I come back to Gypsy Pistoleros? I was in, I did a one-man show in Edinburgh Fringe called A Rock and Roll Suicide, where I'd go through, I had clips of my old bands and I'd sing bits and I'd tell these stories. You know, you haven't heard the Transvision Vamp story yet. And the Kate Bush story, I can never tell, ever. Not even if we had 1,000 Patreon people paying us freaking £25 each to see it. I can't tell you the Kate Bush story, but it's fucking good. I told it once at my show, A Rock and Roll Suicide in Edinburgh, and there was fucking stunned silence. So it didn't go down that well. Anyway, right, getting back to it. Where am I? What's my point? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Rock and Roll Suicide. It was at the Zoo, Southside. And holds about 100 max. And I had like 80 plus most nights. And I got my reviews range from 1 to 5 stars, which apparently is hardly ever done at the Edinburgh Fringe. It's fucked up. I think it was the Edinburgh Reporter or somebody gave me the 1 star and said there's cause to be concerned for his mental well-being, which I thought was ace. And another review described it as it's like Marmite with crack on it, which I thought was really cool. So I put, all these people put their 4 and 5 star reviews up. I put all my reviews from the 1 star to the 5 star, and we were packed for the last week of the month. And we did really well. But during the last week of the month, I remember you doing freaking a show a day. I didn't have a break. So it's 7 days a week for the month. Anyway, this Australian girl came up to me. She went, "I loved your show. My cousin's got a bloody record label. He'd love your stuff." And I'm like, when you're knackered and and I'm like, "Oh yeah, great." I thought nothing of it. Anyway, she sort of said, "Oh, well, what was the band?" And I said, Gypsy Pistoleros was one she really liked. And I used to sing it during the show and whatever. And I actually, during the month singing, my voice was sounding really good for once because I wasn't getting so fucking wasted. Anyway, to cut long story short, it's a guy called Mark, what was his name? Mark Erber from Golden Robot Records got in touch and said, "Yeah, look, I'm really into your stuff." And so I released the greatest hits, tongue-in-cheek, Gypsy Pistoleros album through Golden Robot, and that's how I sort of got back into it back then. So it's been 4 years now, and now we've actually got the lineup that is fucking great. It's the best band I've been in, best version of Gypsy Pistoleros. Now it is. I think I went back and I got Mark, my old mate from White Trash, we did an album, The Mescalito Vampires, which is very much the Spanish flamenco rock type influence. I think we did Alone Again Up, and that was that bit. And we had Vinny, who was drumming, who was in Ghost. And it was okay, but it wasn't right. I went back onto the live sort of circuit. It's really funny because when we went back to it, one of the first shows that I did was Hard Rock Hell. Jumped straight back into the festivals. So remember, I'd been away since 2011, so I'd come back somewhat 10 years later, 9 years, whatever. And the first lineup was supposed to be with LA Guns headlining it, so it was like I just fucking walked out of it and walked straight back into the same bloody scene that was still going back then. And Faster Pussycat was supposed to be on as well, but that was strange. Anyway, we got to this point. We released Duende Go Go Loco because we met Dave Draper, because Kez, the bass player, knew Dave, knows Dave really well. They're really good friends. And he's produced all, I think, 8 of Ginger's albums and the Wild Hearts, Terrorvision, Nickelback, you can look him up. There's a load. And he's brilliant. But when she approached him to do our album, and one of our new album, which is Duende Go Go Loco, he said, "No, I'm not working with cock rock bands." And we had to convince him that we weren't a cock rock band. So in the end, he sort of gave in. And it was nice because I didn't want us to be like the LA Guns support band, the freaking just the sleaze rock stuff. There's fucking loads of bands that had done that. One of the fantastic bands that I went out with, that we went on tour with, we supported over here a few years back was quite a few years back, 2008, was a band called Crystal Pistol, who, if you want some really good sleaze rock, they were brilliant, and they never became massive. They were a fantastic band. They have one song called Rockstar, which is one of my favourite songs ever. So check it out if you want to see real sleaze rock. But I didn't want to do that shit. Not that it's shit, but you know what I mean? That, to be that LA Guns fucking sound-alike band. I wanted us to be different. And I think we are. I think we do glam, we do sleaze, we do heavy as shit stuff. It's like, I think we sort of made a decision that we do whatever, when we were recording with Dave and we were like writing the stuff with him, that whatever sounded right for the song, we would put in. And that was what we've sort of done. And people get a bit freaking confused by what we are, which is supposed to be good, isn't it? When it Bowie that said, like, you know, to be unique is something fucking special. But we found it like a real pain in the ass, you know. Oh, I sound like the Foo Fighters. And don't get me started on new wave of fucking classic rock. Jesus Christ, bunch of twats. What is fucking classic rock? Thin Lizzy, right? What is the new wave of fucking classic rock? Is it a load of bands trying to be Whitesnake and fucking Thin Lizzy? No, it's a load of fucking very average, all sounding the fucking same bullshit. We actually played a festival. Somehow, we got lumped in with all of these fucking bands. And honestly, I was fucking nodding off. We didn't know when one band finished and the next one was on. But anyway, so that's what we don't fucking ever want to be. See, because I'd always come from the punky side of everything. You know, Hanno Rocks, Lords of the New Church, Kill City Dragons-ish. You know, different bands. I mean, like, I love people that... A bit of fucking escapism. You want to see a band, you don't want to see, like, fucking some daft old bastard in spandex trying to look fucking glam. Jesus, if I fucking tried that, I would shoot myself in the head. So, how did we get around this? We decided to wear full makeup. See? And the stripe came from Tears in the Rain, the Blade Runner song that we did on Duende Go Go Loco. So that was the look. We just wanted to be... I wanted it to be a bit freaking... different, a bit something that people would have a laugh watching. And yeah, the new album is fucking heavy as fucking places. It spans Killing Joke to freaking sounds very Phil Spector, one of the songs. It goes punky poppy. It sounds very Wild Hearts on a few, which is quite surprising. So it's the new album's fucking brilliant. And we call it Church of the Pistoleros because we're sort of like still outsiders in this sort of scene, even though I've fucking been in it years and out of it for years. I just like the idea of not joining in with everybody and wanting to be like everybody else, which a lot of bands are saying, like, not everyone, there's some great bands out there, you know, but we want to be fucking different. I've always wanted us to be, and I wanted us to be the band that I always envisaged that I wanted to be in. And it's getting to that point now. This Duende Go Go Loco is great. And it went in, I mean, fucking hell, we charted, we actually got in the main chart with no fucking backing, fuck all promotion. We got 94 in the main chart, which is the week that freaking Taylor Swift released 20 fucking albums. So it should have been 74. We're number 32, I think it was, the indie chart, 7 in the breakers chart, 60 odd in the download chart, which was amazing because we didn't know what the frick we were doing. We were just like posting out to our mates on Facebook, go and buy the album, it's really good. K-ho. But we were up against people who've got 30 to 40,000 quid PR promo budgets, so we didn't, you know, we did all right for what it was. Now, I mean, we've met Jay Shredder, who's like taken us a bit in hand and like, yeah, and is making us more business, but not business minded, but just making it like on a different level. And I suppose you have to be on that level to compete. But I know musically this new album competes with anything out there. And so will the brilliant video that we've just done for Church of the Pistoleros that Jay has filmed and shot in his place. So we can't wait for you to hear that. It is fucking so special. I know every band goes, and our new album is fucking wonderful. This is fucking wonderful. And fuck album of the year. It's like fucking album of fucking loads of years. For me anyway. And my mum fucking loves it. There you go. And so, I shall end this now. That was Story Time with Gypsy Lee Pistolero. I'll probably do more of these things. I won't tell you the Kate Bush story because it's really bad. It's good, but it's bad. But there are a million things I forgot, which I'll come back and tell you about some other time. So until then, see ya.